Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. Make sure to leave a like on this video down below and subscribe. My name is Alvin. I lead right on most issues, and I'll be representing the Republican side.
My name is Luke. I lean left on most issues, and I'll be representing the Democratic side. Hey guys, so in this video, Alvin and I will be giving you our bipartisan takes on the New York City mayoral election.
That's right, and this is going to be a really big one, as it usually is every 4 years on the year right after the presidential race. One of the biggest races every single time is the New York City mayoral election, and a lot of cities throughout the country like to do their mayoral elections, sort of on this first off year right after the presidential election. But of course, New York City being the largest city in the US, we're going to be focusing on this one. And there's a bit of some interesting developments that we feel we need to discuss, especially with this guy right here, Andrew Cuomo.
Yes. So now the race is definitely heating up. I mean, Eric Adams, the incumbent mayor, is running again, but former Governor Andrew Cuomo has also jumped into the race along with a bunch of other Democrats. So I guess we could start with Eric Adams and then just
Yeah,
kind of work our way toward the other more relevant Democrats. So Eric Adams, I mean, he's the incumbent mayor. He won back in 2021. He managed to back in 2021, he ran on really like a moderate Democrat campaign. Kind of like a Joe Biden-esque campaign, like very moderate, focused on like combating crime, very sort of like hardline um, Democratic campaign. Nowadays, he is, not as popular as he once was, to say the least. His approval rating is hovering around the high teens. I think in the latest Quinnipiac poll, it's at like 20%. So he's like incredibly unpopular. I think even among Democrats, obviously that's a majority of the city, but like he's super unpopular among Democrats and independents. It's like better among Republicans, but still unpopular, of course, being a Democratic mayor. Yeah, so he's faced with all that. This is mainly due to his scandals. He was caught um, get basically receiving gifts from the Turkish government in exchange for like approving their property within New York City. I believe it like to build a new Turkish consulate in particular. He had the approval for that fast tracked in exchange for like gifts from the Turkish government, like better flight seatings and stuff like that. So yeah, he's being investigated for that, and that in part made him really unpopular. Um, so that hurt him, and also it seems like now that investigation has been completely halted by the Trump administration. Um, and in like what seems to be a little quid pro quo-esque situation where he's going to cooperate with them in their immigration raids in exchange for that investigation being stalled. So yes, lots of corruption kind of swirling around Eric Adams right now, and it's kind of led to his collapse in polls.
yeah, and I would say even before that, he's
Yes.
been quite unpopular. I mean, there's sort of been like a vibe in New York City where, I mean, honestly, they generally hate on their mayors, no matter who it is. They end up disliking their mayors, but this one in particular, I mean, I guess a lot of the recent ones in particular, but this guy, of course, going beyond the sort of general New York City hate for their mayors with these
Yes.
corruption charges, that's really big. Of course, you've had a really good overview, good job on the Turkish sort of corruption scandal. And now you have also Trump potentially moving in to save Adams here. So he's sort of using these charges as like using it as leverage to make Eric Adams help him deport more illegals from New York City. Of course, New York City is a haven for illegal immigrants. And so these illegal aliens, obviously, Trump wants to deport them, and Eric Adams would be a big help. So I'm sure he's holding these charges over his head, saying, "Look, I'll drop the charges, maybe I'll help pardon you. You just got to help me deport more illegals." And this is going to be sort of a power balancing act. I don't know, a little bit of a quid pro quo, you might say, but that's why Eric Adams is sort of in a lot of trouble here. And like like we said, he maybe in a year where there's no other big names, he might still survive because incumbency advantage is very real, and a lot of these other names might just split the opposition vote. However, that's not going to happen anymore because a very big name, Andrew Cuomo, has now jumped into the race, and he is in fact leading
Yeah.
the polling here. Eric Adams is at second, but far behind. However, Andrew Cuomo is not scandal free.
Yes.
Of course, Andrew
Mm.
Cuomo, very well known for multiple scandals, forcing him to resign as governor of New York, which led way to the current governor, Kathy Hochul. Of course, you see scandal number one, sexual assault. A lot of people would definitely consider this worse than getting bribed by Turkey. You still have, sexual assault scandals, and people have not totally forgotten about this. I mean, the accusers are still there. They still continue to allege things happened, and Cuomo has numerous allegations against him. He also has Letitia James, the sort of attorney general there,
Hmm.
has filed reports against him. However, no charges have been filed. A little suspicious there. I don't know what's going on. But also the Biden DOJ, so not the Trump Department of Justice, but the Biden Department of Justice has said that Andrew Cuomo did sexually harass 13 women. That is a lot of women. And so you all, of course, have that scandal. And then maybe, Luke, you want to discuss the nursing home scandal too, another one.
Yeah, I mean, there was, during the COVID pandemic, Cuomo was, of course, governor of the state, and New York got hit really hard, obviously, and really early. Um, but yeah, there was Cuomo apparently misreported or, and allegedly lied about how many deaths were actually occurring, in New York nursing homes, and the death count ended up being much higher than the state was reporting. So yeah, those are like the two major Cuomo scandals. Um, but it is interesting to see how, despite that, he's at, as you showed earlier, he has now risen to the top of the polls. I think in part that's just due to name recognition and the fact that, when he was actually his actual governance of the state wasn't too bad. A lot of people saw him as a good leader during the pandemic, and he's led other initiatives such as like raising the New York minimum wage, legalizing same-sex marriage in the state. He's been governor for a long time, and he has shown his capability to be effective. So, I mean, I think potentially a lot of people are willing to overlook the scandals to be like, okay, maybe he could be an effective leader for the city, because the city obviously needs effective leadership, because it is facing a litany of problems right now. And also, I think his sort of comeback, at least initially in polling, is a symptom of this new, I would even call it like a Trumpification of politics, with you see like a lot of people with, Trump obviously has been hit with a litany of scandals, and that doesn't seem to stop him. Back a couple years ago, if you were hit with a scandal as a politician, your political career would be over. But you see a lot of scandal-plagued politicians seeming to try to want to make a comeback and trying to make a comeback, and so I think that's something that's new in this era, and I think Cuomo is trying to definitely exploit that to his advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could maybe agree with you. I mean, I don't know about the effectiveness in the COVID-19 pandemic. I think the nursing home scandal sort of nullified all of that.
Yes, yeah, to some
I
extent,
mean,
yes.
yeah, and you also missed the part where he first motivated. I think he actually forced nursing homes to take in patients even if they did have COVID-19, and then that's why he uh forced these undercounts, because he didn't want the Trump administration to sort of tell everyone that Cuomo's policy was bad and stuff like that. He also did, of course, have ambitions to run for president in 2020, but those were dashed because of the scandals at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, now I guess we can go into a few of these other candidates. I know you want to highlight the present and former comptrollers of the city. who are sort of like the CFOs, if the mayor's the
Yeah.
CEO of a city, and of course progressive or maybe even socialist Zara and Mabdani here as well.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple other notable candidates. I'll just run through them real quick. These aren't as like we're not going to spend too much time on them because their polling is pretty low as of right now, and they're not
Yes.
like too terribly known in the city. I guess yeah, I'll just like go in the order they're presented on the New York Times page. So Adrian Adams, the speaker of the New York City Council. Um, Definitely like more moderate Democrat. She used to be more Adams aligned, but you know, obviously with Adams being super unpopular, she's since broken away and is now running against him. There's Brad Lander, as you mentioned, the current city comptroller. He's definitely on the more progressive side. He's slightly more progressive, I'd say, than Adams. I think he has been in the race for a while, and you know he's been a pretty long time critic of Adams. Scott Stringer, the former city comptroller, he ran back in 2021, and it was actually I think the front runner or close to the front runner for a bit. Um, but then he got hit with his own sexual misconduct scandals, and that kind of knocked him down a bit. So he's trying to run again. And then now we have a new face, Zoran Mamdani. So basically, he's a state rep in the New York City, in the New York State House of Representatives. And basically, he's like a democratic socialist. So he's running on like the way progressive side. He's pulling all right. Like I would say like he's like about third place consistently in the polls between from the New York City mayoral polls. He's been running like a pretty a pretty good campaign, like social media wise. Like some of his advertisements I know went viral. Some of his conversations with people in the city, basically just looking like at really bold ideas. I think in particular, like you know, free city buses, rent freezes, and then like city owned grocery stores. Like a bunch of like trying to get the city government to do more to alleviate like everyday costs for people in the city. So yeah, that I imagine those programs are going to cost a bit, but you know, yeah. So that's his sort of angle. So yeah, those are the main couple candidates. But yeah, you know, everyone else really struggles from name recognition outside Cuomo and Adams. So that's a bit of a problem for them right now.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you're talking about here. I guess we can also mention
Hmm.
the main Republican here, Curtis Stilwell, who ran in 2021, obviously unsuccessfully, but generally Democrat primary is the real
Yeah.
mayoral race, and it's the one that matters. And I guess this is a good time to talk about the format of the race, which will be ranked
Hmm.
choice voting. And ranked choice voting is going to be where you rank your candidates. You don't just click one. I believe you rank five here, right, Luke,
I don't remember the
in
exact.
New York
I think it
City.
is five. I think it
I
is
think
five.
it's five, but I guess you guys can fact check us on that. But yeah, you rank. I think your top five candidates, and then sort of the you know the last candidates, the fifth choice candidates, get eliminated, and then stuff like that happens until you get your top candidate, which must receive more than 50% of the vote here in New York City to be declared mayor.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, go on.
Yeah, so like I mean if you want to maneuver to the 2021 election, they have like a good kind of display of
Yes.
it. But so yeah, basically the way it works is yeah, you'd rank your first choice candidate. If a candidate essentially yeah, you can see there's a bunch of rounds in this election system. So basically the goal is to hit 50% or plus of the vote. In the first round, if you don't if your first choice candidates doesn't get you there, basically the candidate with the least first choice votes is eliminated. Their votes are redistributed to all the other candidates, and you just do so on and so on and so on until a candidate finally hits 50%. Now, you know, just looking at the polling, I would say Cuomo has an advantage here because he's not necessarily hitting 50% in every poll, but he's starting with such a big lead. And usually when you know, in the few polls, you know, it's very rare for polls to do like ranked choice voting that do ranked choice voting. It usually ends up with Cuomo just dominating and winning. But yeah, he has a substantial enough lead here that, you know, when you reallocate all the votes, it could easily push him up to 50%. Meanwhile, when you look at other candidates, you might say like, okay, over time with like advertisements, they could have a chance. Like if they not even advertise, but like if they campaign well and properly attack the scandal play candidates, it is possible in a ranked choice voting system that you could tarnish these candidates like Cuomo and Adams enough that you can maybe scrape your way to just barely beating them in the ranked choice voting rounds, just in lieu of them not really having room to grow their support. Because yeah, like it is very possible to look at like someone like Cuomo and see how their support might not be able to increase with all their scandals if you do your campaign well enough against him. But yeah, that's the
Yeah,
route for the opposition. Yeah.
I will say likely, yeah, we're going to be moving towards a route where all the other weaker candidates are going to aim to sort of um, stop the top two candidates, especially Andrew Cuomo, from locking it down. We're going to see them sort of launch attacks against him, I'm sure, specifically on his scandals, his weakest points. And yeah, we're going to see who ends up winning, but it's likely going to be the former governor here, Andrew Cuomo. Um, I would say he's probably at like an 80% chance, if not more,
Yeah.
already. It's very unlikely we see anyone else win. I would be very surprised if Eric Adams wins re-election here. Give him maybe a 10% chance. He is still in second place, and he is still the incumbent, which can never be underestimated in local races where incumbency is generally king. So yeah, but all the other candidates maybe a 10% combined to win or so.
Yeah, honestly, I
Uh,
think I would actually argue that the other candidates have a better shot of winning than Adams, just because Adams is so like I mean, New York City mayors are usually unpopular, in the city or usually become unpopular, but yeah, he's just like historically unpopular. I don't think Adams really has a route. Like it seems like his main base right now, in terms of people who actually like him, are like a handful of Republicans. Like that's like his strongest constituency in terms of approval right now in the city, and they can't vote in the Democratic primary, I don't believe. So yeah, it's he's not. I don't think he's gonna make it in the end. Um, but yeah, and the betting markets, like, but I do agree, Cuomo just have a very, very high chance of winning, just because he starts with such a big lead, so much name recognition, and like if right now the opposition is like Adams second, Mamdani third, like I think like Cuomo just with the name recognition and people just kind of wanting the city to work again, and him being a somewhat like trusted administrator of the state people, New York City residents, I think, are probably going to just put him back. And if you look at like, betting markets have it around what you said, like I think Cuomo's hovering around like 80% right now also, in terms of those. But yeah, that's about where it stands.
yeah, makes sense. And anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. We're gonna make sure to update you on any new developments in this race and the other big races happening in 2025. Leave a like on this video down below if you enjoyed. Comment down below future video ideas for us that you want to see, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future videos. Thanks for watching, guys.
See you guys.